There are two types of people in this world. The first type wakes up every morning with a fire inside them. Not because life is perfect, not because things are easy, but because they have chosen something to move toward. The second type also wakes up every morning. They also move, they also hustle. But every single action they take is driven by one invisible force. Fear. Fear of failing. Fear of being judged. Fear of being left behind. And here's the disturbing truth that no one tells you at 20 years old. Both types of people can look successful from the outside. Both can grind, both can work late, both can post about the process. But only one of them is building something real, and only one of them will see people. One who is controlled by fear. One who was driven by genuine motivation. Same age, same pressure, completely different outcomes. By the end of this video, you will know which one you are, and more importantly, what to do about it. Meet Arjun, 22 years old, engineering graduate, smart, capable, hard-working. From the outside, he looks like someone who has it all figured out. He lands a decent corporate job straight out of college. His parents are proud. His Instagram looks perfect. But let's look a little closer. Arjun didn't choose engineering because he loved it. He chose it because his father told him it was safe. He didn't take the job because it excited him. He took it because the thought of not having one made his chest tighten. He doesn't speak up in meetings, not because he has nothing to say, but because he is terrified of being wrong in front of others. Every decision in Arjun's life is made through the lens of one question. What is the worst that can happen if I don't do this? He stays in a relationship that drains him, afraid of being alone. He skips applying to better companies, afraid of rejection. He abandons a creative side project he genuinely loved, afraid people would call it a waste of time. Arjun is moving. He's working. He's functioning. But fear is the engine. What is actually happening to Arjun? Psychologists call this avoidance motivation, the psychological state where a person's primary drive is to escape a negative outcome rather than pursue a positive one. In the short term, avoidance motivation works. It gets you out of bed. It keeps you from failing visible tests. It makes you look responsible. But here is what it slowly destroys. Autonomy. When your choices are made by fear, they are never truly yours. You become a passive actor in your own life, reacting to threats, not building toward a vision. Identity. Arjun, over years, begins to forget what he actually wants. The fear becomes so loud, it drowns out the inner voice that once had real opinions, real dreams, real preferences. Resilience. People driven by fear cannot tolerate failure. Because failure, to them, is not just a setback. It is the very thing they have been running from their whole lives. So when it comes, and it always does, they collapse. This is the hidden cost of living in fear. You do not lose dramatically. You lose slowly, quietly, in all the places no one can see. Robert Greene understood this. He wrote that the person who acts purely out of fear surrenders the one thing that makes them dangerous, their own will. A person without will is a person who can be controlled, redirected, and ultimately discarded by life itself. Arjun is not breaking any rules. He's not doing anything wrong, but he is not following the law of moving towards something greater than your own survival. Now meet Meera, 24 years old, no fancy degree, no safety net. Her family didn't have the resources Arjun's had. If anyone had a reason to be paralyzed by fear, it was her. She spent a year after school completely directionless, took odd jobs, struggled financially, watched friends around her settle into comfortable paths, while she felt behind, lost, inadequate. But then something shifted. Not some magical moment. Not a TED Talk. Not a turning point that looks good in retrospect. She simply sat with herself one afternoon, genuinely, uncomfortably, and asked a different question. Not what happens if I fail, but what does this mean to me? And she found an answer. She cared about people's mental health, deeply, not as a career strategy, not because it was trending. She had watched depression take her older brother to a dark place for 3 years, and something in her needed to understand the human mind. She started a small blog, no audience, no monetization strategy. She wrote because she needed to. She signed up for an online psychology course she could barely afford, not to put it on a resume, but because it genuinely lit something up inside her. She applied to 15 organizations and got rejected by 12. She didn't spiral, not because she was fearless. She felt everything. But her response to rejection was not to retreat. Her response was to ask, "What can I learn from this?" Within 18 months, she had built a small but loyal online community, landed a part-time role at a mental health nonprofit, and was accepted into a graduate program she had once thought was out of reach. What is actually happening with Meera? Psychologists call this approach motivation, the psychological state where a person's primary drive is to move toward a meaningful goal. Here is the critical distinction. Meera was not fearless. She had every reason to be afraid. But fear was not the fuel. It was just weather. It was a condition she operated inside of, not a force that steered her. This is what Robert Greene meant when he wrote about people who master their circumstances rather than being mastered by them. Meera was not reacting to life. She was authoring it. What does approach motivation actually do to the brain? Research shows that people in approach states are more creative, more resilient, and more capable of tolerating uncertainty. They recover from failure faster because failure does not threaten their identity. It informs their strategy. More importantly, approach motivation is self-sustaining. Every step Meera took toward her goal reinforced her sense of purpose. Every rejection confirmed that she was in the arena, not watching from the sidelines. The movement itself became the reward. Arjun needed external validation to keep going. Meera needed only to keep moving. This is the law that Meera was following, unconsciously, instinctively, but precisely. Move toward. Choose your direction. Let the fear come, but never let it drive. So here is the question you have to sit with tonight. When you look at your daily decisions, the messages you don't send, the opportunities you don't take, the version of yourself you haven't become yet, what is behind that inaction? Is it a choice? Or is it fear, wearing the mask of a choice? Because fear is a genius disguise artist. It will dress up as practicality. It will dress up as humility. It'll tell you, you're not ready yet. It's not the right time. What if it doesn't work? And it will sound completely reasonable. But here is what I want you to remember from Arjun and Meera. Both of them had pressure. Both of them had doubt. The difference was not confidence. The difference was not talent. The difference was the question they kept asking themselves every single day. Arjun asked, "What am I afraid of losing?" Meera asked, "What am I building toward?" One question keeps you small. One question keeps you moving. You already know which one to choose. If this video made you think differently about how you operate, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more content on the psychology of power, behavior, and the hidden forces that shape who we become, subscribe. The next video will be waiting for you.